Hello! This is Mr. Axebane, and this is devlog number 2 for Project RustStorm. Now, I believe in the last devlog I mentioned something like I'm not going to show any actual development. Really, what I should say is I'm not planning to record my development and do time lapses, so I won't be having like all of it recorded, but I realized to explain some of the new stuff that's in the game, it's actually easier to do it in the editor. So this is the editor, and this is the map that you first load into, and this is the first house you start in. I actually added some credits to it to make it easier to playtest. Actually, there's like 10,000 credits here, so that's not going to be in the final game, of course. That's just for playtesting. You can zoom out even further. If you go to 2x, it's like this. If I go to 1x, you can see the entire map. Maps are 64 by 64 blocks, but the blocks are very large. They're like, taller than the player. So each block is kind of like one floor. You can kind of think of it. And actually, they're called floors in the actual editor. So I wanted to show you this because I actually need to add something to show the new stuff that's in the game. And in this devlog, I'm going to show the new stuff I've added to the game, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got started with game dev. And when I got started, I didn't even call it that. I didn't even know the distinction between game development and game making, or what. I didn't even realize how games were really made. I just knew companies put them out. I didn't really even think about how big the teams might be or whatever. I just didn't know that back then. Anyway, okay, so I need to add some stuff here because I want to show you the newest stuff in this devlog, or in the game now. And it's been a little over a week since the last devlog, and one of the biggest things is I actually redid all of the graphics for the weapons. The graphics I had before, I struggled a lot making those. Oh, that's the wrong image there. I need to change that. I struggled a lot when it came to creating the images because I didn't use any reference, or I would look at screenshots of other games to get a kind of an idea of what angles I was trying to go for, and then I tried to create it from scratch, like in an image editing program, and I could never quite get the perspective lines correct. They just didn't quite look right. I'm gonna do some quick fix here, actually. So this time I actually went with a different approach, and I redid all the graphics. I'm really happy with how they came out. And it's actually kind of interesting because I used a similar approach to what they used for most of the weapons in Doom, the original Doom. So, alright, let me go ahead and change this graphic really quick here. Oh, here we go. Actually, I needed to go into weapons settings. It's not a decoration. So, I just need to put the correct image in here for the plasma gun. And this is cool. This will show you guys how easy it is to import graphics for your weapons and stuff. By default, there's like 6 images for the attack. There's one for when the weapon's idle. And then you can change, obviously, if it's a projectile. You don't have to use these if it's not. But if it shoots a projectile, which is in contrast to what's called hit scan. In the editor, it's not called hit scan. But when you don't shoot a projectile, it's like instantly determines whether it can hit. Anyway, if you do have a projectile, you can put the graphics you want down here for that. So I actually uploaded the wrong image for my one of my items here, so I'm gonna get the correct one real quick. Yeah, okay, here we go. Yeah, I had previously imported the image for this new weapon, the plasma gun, for when you find it in the shop, but I actually needed to have a default. In case you ever find a free plasma gun laying around, which you probably won't, well, maybe in like the later areas of the game, it would have worked. It just would have looked a little odd along with the others. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and place that down as well. And then there's actually a new weapon in the game that's it's a weapon as far as the game engine's concerned, but from game design perspective, it's actually a cybernetic upgrade. It's really fun. It's going to be. I think people will like this one. It's kind of silly, but it's chainsaw hands. Oh man, I'm just going to pop those down so I can show you. Alright, and then the other thing I'm going to do real quick before I actually do the playtesting is here in the editor I'm going to go to maps. Oh, first I better save the changes I made to this map. And I placed those just so I could show you those, obviously. Normally you won't just find them laying around for free. And then on map 2, I'm going to go to floor 5, which is where I did the ground floor for this map. and place down another exciting new thing in the game now. It's not finished, it still needs some animations and some tweaks and things, but I have sort of a boss enemy now. I had sort of the mini bosses before with those medium bots. These are the large bots. I'm going to place one of these in a place where you wouldn't normally find it either, because it's going to be like right after the player starts in the first outdoor area. But that's just obviously to show you it in testing, and I'll just have to remember to remove it later. I'm going to go ahead and save that map. And the other reason that I actually wanted to show you guys the editor is one of the things I want to talk about with the new stuff I've added is really a tweak to an existing system. Luckily, I didn't have to rewrite the system. I've actually, when I was first prototyping the spawning system for the enemies, I rewrote it multiple times. I think I wrote it like 3 or 4 times. I didn't want to do that much rewriting, but this was, early, and I realized that the system I first came up with was not going to work that well. And I started thinking about other ways I could try to do it, and I came up with a system I thought would be pretty good, and it was not bad either, but not quite right. So I reluctantly wrote it again, either 1 or 2 more times. I can't remember. Anyway, I made a modification to what I was using for the enemy spawning, and here in the map editor, you'll be able to see this easier than explaining it while just testing. So basically, I can actually explain this pretty simple in pretty simple terms. Previously, I had possible spawn locations that would initially populate the map, and each location could have a group of enemies. Well, each location still could have a group of enemies, but the difference is before I had very few, like much fewer spawn points, maybe a quarter of, maybe 25% of what I have now. So it was less spawn points for the groups previously, for enemy groups, but they had like a 70% chance to be there. The result was that there weren't that many places things that the robots could initially be, and most of the time they would be there, 70%. I mean, that's a pretty high chance. So it actually wasn't as random or as unpredictable as I wanted it to be. To fix that, I made a small modification. I basically took the existing spawner I had, which is my enemy random robot, is the one I use the most really for initially populating the map. And for each of those, I placed 3 or 4 of this newer type, and then occasionally I'm going to use these 70% chance spawn points. But for the most part now, I'm using what I'm calling the scarce robot spawn point, which is much more scarce. Like, there's only about a 16% chance that they will spawn there instead of 70%. So there's a lot more of them, therefore a lot more possible locations where the initial enemies could be, and the chance for each one is much lower. That the result is much more possibilities, and the enemy groups are less predictable. It's excellent. It actually works way better than what I had. I only had to make a small change and then go through all the maps and replace most of the spawners with these new types. When you go in an underground facility, though, they'll usually use the old type because it's kind of a different feel. You're not wandering around the outdoors. But you can see if I zoom out again here, here's one of the scarce spawns, and there's another. They're kind of all over the place, but because each one only has about a 1 in 6 chance of actually spawning, of these 6 here in this open area, like on average, only like one of them shows up. Now, that does mean occasionally players might get really unlucky or really lucky, and like a bunch of them could be there, or very few. I mean, that's the nature of randomness, but I control it, very carefully how high and how low it can go, or how, because it doesn't just check to see a 1 in 6 and then just plop everything down. It then checks to see what the current alert level is, and even modifies that with the game difficulty. So a little bit, I think it does for those. Anyway, yeah, the result is huge change. The enemies. Also, another thing is I put some of them on higher floors. This worked even better than I imagined, because on most maps when you're wandering around, enemies that are higher than you are often going to see you before you ever see them. That works out good in this case because they can't just start killing you right away. A lot of times they'll come after you. Like let's say they're on floor 7 here. There's one group there that could, which these guys are near the start, so they'll come after you quick. But most of these, they'll start to come after you. Well, then they'll drop down because they don't you know, they're not smart enough to actually traverse, you know, the same level. They'll just walk down. You know, they don't take fall damage, so they'll just walk off the edge and then try to find you. So, whoops. Oh gosh, I just placed a whole bunch of those. Gotta delete those. Like a million robots would be right here. So these spawn points, the ones that are higher up, like if they were higher up here, like that one that I showed, they might come down the wall, and then if the player is like, you know, had just entered the map and is around here or something, well, they can't get to them from here, so then they're going to start trying to path around here, but they're not that great at it, actually, which is kind of good in this case, so they don't swarm you and find you right away. They'll just kind of be wandering around kind of stupidly, like try to get to you. But they'll do it somewhat randomly, and that's built into the engine. And then as the player is getting closer, you know, they might get a little bit better at that. So as the player's coming around this corner, for instance, they might have found their way around that, or they might be back here trying to find a way. Anyway, the result, like I say, is much less predictable, which is what I was going for. I want a game with replayability where when you play an area and when you revisit an area, the loot should be different, the enemies should be different, enough to where you can be surprised. Even I am surprised as I'm playing testing frequently, which is perfect. That's exactly what I'm trying to go for. Alright, so now I'm going to build the new build, and then I'll do some play testing to show you the new stuff and talk about the rest of it. And actually, even though this is not a tutorial by any means, obviously, I'm going to show you how to do that. I go to Project, Save Current Project. Although I think it saves your project when you make a new build anyway, but I'd save frequently just to make sure. And then up here is a build game option. I could do a test game here, but sometimes custom scripting or FSM, which is similar to scripting, may not work the same when you test it in the editor than when you actually test the final build. Plus, testing the final build shows you, you know, what other players should experience, generally speaking. Anyway, so then I'm going to build it, which I think it's going to save it and then, you know, build it. There we go. Successfully built. Excellent. So I just got to load that up and then I can test it. Alright, so I made the new build and loaded it up. I could have just kept recording while I did that, most likely. The editor's fairly lightweight and the build's only like 27 megabytes or something right now, which is nuts. That's because there's not a lot of, you know, there's not a lot of sound effects really. I mean, there's some, and there's still a lot of textures and graphics that need to be added, and that'll make it bigger. But anyway, I paused the recording though just in case, and also gives me a second to tweak the config.ini, which is boring. You don't need to see that. All right, so anyway, here we go. I can load up the new build. I didn't completely break everything apparently, so the basics still work, which they should. I didn't really make many changes from what I had before. This time I'm going to test on hard mode, and I'm going to do a different character class. I usually do Decker, but I've done so much playtesting with Decker and hacking, and I think most of the bugs are actually gone from hacking. So I need to do other types. Plus, it's kind of fun to try something different. And lately, when I playtest, when I'm not recording, I've been doing Gunner, just because Gunner has like one small side benefit. Some of the classes have this stuff to where I was like, yeah, I need a little bit more. Gunner can carry a little bit more ammo than most classes for the equivalent Brawn. And then speaking of Brawn, I'm actually going to take Brawn as my special because Gunner already has like 5 Brawn. With 7 Brawn, once I get the power wrench, I can show you how many different types of things you can break, the rusty objects to sometimes get loot, like the rusty barrels, rusty vehicles, rusty crates. There's even large rusty metal tanks. There's even rusty trucks. But I think those require like 10 Brawn or 8 Brawn, so I'm not going to have enough yet. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to be a gunner with Brawn. I'll be able to carry a lot of ammo. And actually, to make play testing easier, I'll either do the wrench or probably the pocket alert meter. Actually, that really helps with play testing. And just like last time, I'm not going to read the backstory. This may be changed. Everything is subject to change, of course. Still in an alpha version. On one of the devlogs, I'll explain the differences between alpha and beta and stuff. I thought I knew. It seemed pretty simple, but actually, once I learned what the general definition is, I was like, oh, okay. It's a little bit more specific. And yeah, I'll explain that on another devlog, though. Okay, so the new stuff. That's the 2 topics I'm covering are the new stuff I've added, and then how I got started in game development. The new stuff I've added, like I say, is new weapon graphics, and I also redid the graphics for the weapon boxes. This is these are the versions you would find if you find it for free, which You could occasionally with like the shotgun and the SMG, and I think one of these. Also, I've made it now to where the player starts, instead of starting with the starting weapon, they have enough money to buy either this starting weapon or this one. And they're both fun, the rifle or the dual pistols. For this, I'll probably go ahead and do the basic rifle, which is one of my favorite weapons. And here we go, this is the new weapon graphics for this. I'm really proud of how it came out. And actually, what I did is sort of a hybrid method. Oh yeah, free credits. Basically, I actually I took a photograph of myself holding a foam core replica of a 40K bolt gun, and then I traced over that in low resolution to make the pixel art version, and obviously changed up the design quite a bit so it's not actually a bolt gun. You know, it's just heavily inspired by the bolt gun, which the bolt gun really is just a big boxy assault rifle, to be honest. And here's the other weapon, which is technically in the game terms cybernetic upgrade. Chainsaw hands. Now, I actually need 20,000 credits to buy this, so I can't actually... And I didn't make a free version of this because you're not going to find this for free just laying around. Well, maybe a boss could drop it sometime eventually, so I might have to make a free one that won't be just the shop item. Anyway, because I have a lot of starting money, I can buy more of these, so I'll go ahead and show you... I guess I'll show you these guys as well. I can afford most of these, actually. Or wait, these aren't the shop version. That's right, these are free. What am I talking about? Alright, these are the dual pistols, the new art for that. I took a photograph of myself holding... I actually only have one of these, but I just mirrored the image. A foam core replica of a bolt pistol, and then changed the design even more so, I think, than in the other one, to make something that's not really a bolt pistol for these dual pistols. Also, I improved the sound effect, and when you fire once, it's actually 2 shots. Before, it was goofy. Like, each shot was just like, it looked like both of them were shooting, but you only heard one sound effect. Now it does too. I love that. Oh, and here's the sound for the... This hasn't changed. The sound is the same, I believe, but the fire rate, I think, is higher. And originally this was actually a pistol, but I got tired of testing and decided I wanted to change it to a assault rifle thing. Alright, and then here's the SMG. I think it's basically the same... actually, I probably tweaked the values a bit for damage and stuff, but it's basically the same. Essentially, it's a close quarters, but somewhat medium range from very high fire rate. Love it. This was already in the game, but I've improved the graphics of this. This one, actually, to make the graphics, I started with what I already had for the bolt gun, or it's not the bolt gun, for my legally distinct knockoff version of the bolt gun, to get the perspective lines correct, and then just kind of came up with my own design that was, you know, much more SMG-like in its look. Alright, and then the shotgun, which looks way better, and I still kind of don't like it. Like, I wish I could, I don't know, I might change it around a bit, but... And the sound effects are not that good. I made these sounds based off of some free sounds, and then I've modified them a lot, but this is... It's difficult to make your own shotgun sound, you know? Anyway, it does need improvement there. And then here's this new weapon, the plasma gun, which sounds okay, and I might need to... I made this sound as well based off a laser gun sound from a free sound effect pack that I modified. It's not too bad. Anyway, it looks cool, and I made this one by also starting with the bolt gun as my underlying image, and then tracing, but creating something a totally different design that was more of a, you know, more futuristic, obviously. And this thing is actually pretty dangerous. It does a lot of damage. It's kind of like an upgrade. Once you get this, it's better than most of the other weapons, actually, but it's expensive. Okay, so bunch of new weapons. What else is in the game? Like I say, the new or modified spawning system, which I'm about to show you. There's new weapon upgrades a little bit. Here's one for the rifle that wasn't there before. There's new stuff in the shop. Armor repair kit. I totally, well, mostly changed how armor works. Before, it was kind of weird. You would have an armor rating, like I've got 45 with this character, based on your class and your armor. Or whether you take the primary skill of armor or not. But it got repaired for free every time you entered a new map, which was kind of exploitable, but I don't care about exploits, single player, you know. But it was just sort of weird, like your armor was just refreshed every time you went to a new map, and if you had a lot of armor and like low health, like on a high difficulty, I mean, you could just have a lot of extra health by just frequently going back and forth between maps. So now it's cheap, and most shops will have an option for it. but you'll have to return to town or get lucky and find it as loot when you're exploring. The armor repair kit, which is affordable. It's only like 200 credits, so it's cheap. It's just so instead of getting it for free every time you enter a map, you kind of have to get it repaired by finding a repair kit or buying the repair kit in the shop, and then it will fully repair to whatever your armor rating is for your character. So if you get better armor, your overall armor rating gets higher. So then when you repair, it's still only 200, but you get the better rating. So anyway, it's just sort of a little bit of a maintenance thing. Oh, okay, here we go. A little bit of a maintenance kind of thing for people to try to, you have to remember to get your armor repaired every so often, or get lucky enough to find some repair kits, or else you're just not going to have quite as much health, because armor acts as extra health. Okay, so this is the new exciting thing. It's not finished, but I got a new enemy that's bigger. It's like a boss. Here we go. Yeah, it spawns stuff. It's got a quad chain gun. It's not that dangerous, except, I mean, if you don't consider the stuff it spawns. If it didn't spawn anything, it wouldn't be that bad. So, and you'll probably never find it by itself. And it's gonna spawn more of the better enemies at the higher difficulties. But okay. Oh, I don't have enough ammo. Oh, that's right. I got this. Ah, I almost forgot. Yeah, this should do it. Come on, come on. And it doesn't have a ton of health, but it has like about 3 times as much health as the medium bots. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so I got it. And I think the loot's not that exciting, but it's better than the medium bots as well. And it's got a huge corpse when it's gone because the robot's so big. Anyway, I might make that a little bigger. I might scale down the image or shrink, edit the image so it's not quite as tall. Yeah, so that's a new boss type enemy. Now, I placed that one here to playtest it, obviously, as I mentioned before, but so it's not going to just show up here normally. It will only show up actually in the later maps, or, well, not late maps, but not really in the starting map. I don't think there's a chance on this map. But there's a small chance, and then a little bit higher chance than that, as you go further into the game, that could be one of the enemies that spawns, but it really should only happen usually if, like if you have a higher alert level. So if the alert level is still low, there's probably not going to be a, there's not that high of a chance that you'll run into that boss, unless you're really farther into the game. Anyway, obviously it's a higher end enemy type, and I might need to make it a little more dangerous, although it did take quite a bit of my health. Alright, so that's one of the new things, and then like I say, all the new weapon graphics, and then the new weapons. Let's see, the new spawning system, which you'll be able to see some of that too as I explore. There will be times where I'm surprised by where the enemy comes from, and that's what I'm hoping to achieve for the player, even more so, because they're going to be even more surprised because they don't know. I know possible locations, but there's so many of them now, and the way that they roam around, kind of sometimes when they see you from a distance before you've seen them, it's much less predictable. Oh, there's some kind of little hidden areas too. I don't have the power wrench yet, so I can't break this open, but if you break this, you can get past. There's more stuff to break. I wanted essentially to have some alternate areas and alternate loot and things you can get, even if you don't have hacking, because I realized how much fun I was having with the hacking. Like, I don't have a cyber deck, so I can't do it here, but if I did, I'd be trying to get in there. I love doing it. And I started thinking, man, anybody who doesn't have a high hacking skill, like, how are they going to get alternate stuff and get to alternate areas? I mean, there was already a lot of benefits, like to having high luck, to having high armor, but not quite as fun as, like, oh, I can unlock potentially new areas or find stocks of loot I couldn't otherwise get. And so Brawn has that now, with the way that if you have a power wrench or other melee weapon, there's only 2 of them, the power wrench and the chainsaw hands, then you can break these vehicles, but you got to have a high enough brawn. See, here we go. Here's an example. I don't know where the freaking. Oh, I bet he's up there. Where is he? Okay, yeah, group spawn, including one of these little scouts. I see it. Oh, there's another scout over here. Yeah, so there's an example where I was like, where the heck? Because they're just not quite as predictable as before, which is perfect. All right, so let me. Oh, I'm gonna have to go back to town and get some more ammo probably, and then I'll continue playtesting here. All right, here we go. I think there's still some enemies roaming around I can hear, but I'm going to go back to town and get some ammo. This will also refresh the alert level, and you can see that. Yeah, see it dropped from like 4 or 5 back down to 1. Some of the towns further in game, it may not drop to 1. It may drop down to like 2. It just kind of depends. Also, your difficulty level will affect it. Alright, so I'll get some rifle ammo. I'll get basically as much ammo as I can get. Oh yeah, get my armor repaired. Sweet. Oh, and I think there's a bug there. I may have found a bug. Okay, so I have 40 health. Sorry, I have 40 armor. But I thought my armor rating was supposed to be 45, and it shouldn't ever go down. So there we go. Sometimes I don't find bugs in these. I didn't find a bug, I don't think. I might have actually in the last playtest, but I definitely found one now. You know what? Give me all your. I'm just cleaning. Yeah, I'm just gonna buy all of it, every bit. Oh, I need to add more options for these guys. They all look the same, and they only say one thing, and I'm definitely gonna change that. That might actually be in the next devlog, because I'm thinking about adding more dialogue options. And also some like missions or quests that the robot shopkeepers might give you from time to time. In fact, that'll be the first of the mission system that I implement. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work, but I'm thinking something like talk to those guys and you can get some kind of mission request. But also I'm going to have some humans. They're not in the game yet, but you are gonna eventually find, maybe early on you might find them, some of the other humans, and they could be shopkeepers and give you missions and things too, probably. I have a lot of stuff I need to do for this game. I gotta make sure that the scope creep doesn't kill me, because it's already creeped a bit from what I was originally gonna make. Anyway. Alright, what else is new in this version? There's actually a new area, and I'm gonna see if I can actually bum rush my way there and just sort of ignore most things. Oh, forgot about the boss that's there. Let's see, how can I get around him without the least amount of damage? And you can do this, you know, you can avoid enemies. If there's the game doesn't force you to fight stuff. Sometimes you might have to run away. I mean, I had to flee back to town, really, because I was getting low on ammo and I'd lost all my armor already. Oh, I really need to get that power wrench so I can break these. And I designed it in such a way that I can test it, actually, too. Yeah, none of these, I don't want to waste too much ammo, but none of these weapons should actually break even the shotgun that does a lot of damage. Yeah, you can't break cars with your weapons. You have to use a power wrench. And it's like that for the other stuff too. Although, you know, once you do have a wrench or the chainsaw hands, no matter what your brawn is, you can break the small stuff like the barrels. I'll also actually improve the loot chances a little bit for those items and what stuff you can find. There's a little more variety. Okay, here we go. That was a spawn that was new. Yeah, that spawn point was up there, I think. Also, I used to have guaranteed spawns like around this corner. There was always a medium bot, but it kind of got old. And one of my playtesters is actually the reason that I even thought about redoing the spawn system, because I was like, or modifying it, because they mentioned it seemed really predictable actually where the groups could be, and I was like, you know, actually you're right. I thought about it and I was like, oh yeah, there's not that many potential locations, and if there's 70% chance roughly each time, I mean, most of the time they're just going to be there. So I was like, wait a minute, if I made another kind with a lower chance, but I put a lot more of them, and it was like, bingo. It wasn't that much work either to do, with a huge payoff, huge improvement. Oh yeah, I was gonna rush to the other new zone, see if I can do that. I'll do a backwards, a tactical retreat here as well. Shoot at the. All right, there we go. That's good enough. Might use some dual pistols. These are nice too. These things are really accurate, and you can upgrade them just like the other weapons. There's no upgrades yet for the plasma gun, but you can upgrade the damage on these and accuracy. But the thing is, I think accuracy. They don't really need accuracy though. They're one of the most accurate weapons currently in the game. But they fire, you know, slower than the others. Than most of the others. Alright. Trying to think of the fastest way to go. Okay, this would be better around this way, I think. Yeah, I don't normally skip this many enemies. You know, it's hard to resist trying to get some loot and to blast them. But I really want to show you guys the new zone. It's incomplete also, which would be kind of cool. You can see what a zone looks like before I put all the decorations in, and it's going to look kind of kind of sparse, and I'll probably find some bugs. Oh, I gotta remember to check that armor bug. So my armor rating was 45, and somehow it was 40. Trying to think of how. So I reset the armor level with one of the items or upgrades, or the armor repair. Yeah, I'll have to look at those scripts, all those related to those, and I'll probably find it pretty quick. Because it should never go down, so somewhere along the line there I set it incorrectly. Oh, this map is a little bit different too. Those ruins weren't there. I tried to add a bit more to some of the maps that felt a little too empty or a little too easy to get lost in. And I'm going to obviously continue to do improvements. Oh, this is fun. This is a bug, but I'm probably not going to... There's no way I can really fix it. Well, might be a way if I spawn the stuff later. But these... I think these items spawned as the enemy was falling down and dying. Like, it was coming off of this block, and I was shooting it. I think it died as it was falling off, because it dropped its items in the air. Oh, and I can't get the 500. Oh, how... Oh, there we go. Even when I'm playtesting, I can't... Like, I want the money. Give me the money. Alright, anyway. Not too far from the new zone. There was one other new thing. There's lots of small things. You know, there's so many little tweaks. There was one other new thing I was going to mention. I'll have to remember. Alright, we're almost through the forest. I mostly avoided the forest. Okay, in the ancient desert now, which is also a bit different. I've added some more structures here. I was really feeling when I was playtesting that there needed to be more places for the player to hide. Ooh, free item. Oh, that was actually nice. I needed to lower my rads there. So there's this structure here that was added onto this wall that gives you a couple of doors you can come through, you know, and more places to take cover, because this map was a bit too open, and when the player got unlucky and there were a lot of enemy spawn groups, it was like a little insane. I mean, it's still a little crazy. I mean, it is a more dangerous zone, so it's kind of needed to be that way, but maybe I'll tweak it a bit even further. But alright, so this is a little safe zone here. This is one of the best ones, actually. I think this is the best one in the game. I'm going to stop here to get my alert level down. Also gives me an opportunity to see what's for sale. Oh, also I'm going to show you guys, this is another change. I've included more shopkeeps. You know, there's these shops you can go into. Obviously, there's lots of them, like this one here. But I started thinking, you know, it'd be cool if there were some robots that were in the hallways in some of these larger facilities that would have, like, always have the same items. Like this guy, he always sells you vodka or masks, like you know, or both, whatever. This guy's interesting. He always has like the top of the line cyberdeck and blast processing chips. This one's good. I need to repair my armor. This is one of the guaranteed armor repairs, because I realized how important that was going to be, since you don't get free repair every time you go to a new zone. And I don't necessarily need the first aid. I definitely should go ahead and buy this power wrench, I think. Yeah. I got all the weapons, so I don't really need to buy those. Oh, there's another repair kit. And you can swing at these guys, but nothing ever happens. I'm probably going to change that eventually. So, like, if you attack them, they'll probably start shooting at you or something. Like, their eyes will probably turn red and they'll start blasting or something. Not sure yet, but let's see if we can see. There's the only new upgrade is actually those chainsaw hands I showed you, but I still can't quite afford those. Oh, well, let's get this. This is fun. Faster shotgun. So there's a little feature here that's well, I say little, but it's kind of one of the bigger features in the game. Some of the safe zones are going to have places where you actually have to buy the room or the house or whatever. I was going to make all of them free, but I thought, no, it'd be kind of cooler if the first one's free in the starter town there, but if you have to save up a bit to get these other ones. So if I had 20,000 credits, it would let me buy this, but if I keep trying, it'll say eventually not enough credits. Yeah. So, but when you do, you only have to pay that once, and you'll get access to a room back there that has a bed and a dispenser. It'll eventually have more dispensers. Out of curiosity, I'm going to check the data values. Ooh, data tech is 900 credits per disc, and bolts incorporated is also 900. I don't have either of those. Oh, that's another new thing. you'll never find these in the shops, but there's a new thing where sometimes from loot you can find out in the world, or from enemies, you may find data disks that already have data. This is an alternate way for people to get data even if they don't do hacking. Because I thought, oh, that'd be cool. You could find data, and then depending on the current value, you know, you can bring it to a data seller or a data buyer, and maybe get some decent creds, even if you aren't a hacker, you know, or aren't a decker, or the other classes that have good hacking. All right, so the new zone is actually just down here. And once I show that, that's all the new stuff I can remember. Lots of other new small tweaks, but oh god, a lot of dudes. Alright, hopefully this works. It didn't work the first time, and I had to redo how I did this door and this transition here. And there we go. This new zone. Now this new zone does have some places where loot could appear. It has plenty of places where enemies could appear. It does not have respawning enemies yet, and it needs a lot more decorations and buildings and stuff. But this has some of the taller buildings in this zone. In fact, most of the buildings in this zone are going to be like multi-level. I forgot about this. I put a lot of radioactivity here in the form of these bone piles. I just wanted something different. You know, this also, I wanted something to look visually different. This is a nice cover. Although I'm not being attacked right now, so I don't even need it. But I may have to put a few more enemy spawns, actually. And then there's this freaking tall building, and there's currently no... Oh, I did add a way. Okay, I think there's a... Oh, yeah, you can't quite reach it. Okay, this is technically a bug, too, because I intended for the player to be able to jump up there, but I didn't really do it right. I need another taller block here, and then maybe some more blocks. Anyway, this is a multi-level building that currently you can only access the ground floor. Got a straggler from one of the groups there. Bunch of cars I can break over there, but I'm going to end up with a lot of radiation if I stand there, because there's a lot of radiation from those. I may have placed too many of those. I just wanted a hotspot here to be kind of interesting. Most maps have at least one radioactive source. And then there's just a bunch of these little smaller buildings. Some of these may have loot. Some of these may have enemies. And I'm probably going to create stairs or something either on the outside of these or the inside to get to these upper levels. And then actually what I want to do with this map is to connect multiple buildings with walkways up above. So I want to have some much more verticality, even though this game engine's not really designed for that much verticality, although you can do it. It's just a little janky, I guess you could say. But yeah, so you can kind of do it, and as long as I try not to have too many enemies directly below you, which is where it's kind of difficult to shoot at them. Oh, I didn't get anything from any of those. Well, barrels are the least likely of the rusty things to drop items. Oh, there's one. I don't need it, though. I don't need that one either. Oh, now I'm getting all of the same. Look at that. This is the nature of randomness. Sometimes you get kind of wacky random stuff like this, and you can control it more, but it's more work. Like if I could have more variables where I keep track, like what the recent drops were or something, you know, and then like, oh, they've had 3 health packs in a row. We're not going to do that. But I don't think I want to do the extra work for that, because it's not worth the benefit in my mind, because this doesn't happen that often. This is a rarity. And actually, those can be fun moments where you're like, what the heck? I'm finding 1 million first aids. I don't need any of them. There's just not enough enemies on this map to need them, I guess. Alright. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to break a few more of these. This is playtesting. This is what I got to do. Alright. Oh, shotgun ammo. That's nice. Alright, so that's all the new stuff, I think. Yeah. That I can recall. Okay, so that means it's basically time to wrap up this devlog with the second topic, which was how I got started in game development. And I tend to ramble, so I'm going to try to keep this short. Because it's not remarkable or anything, I just happen to remember it pretty distinctly. So when I was a kid, my parents could not actually afford a computer until I was about 15, I guess. something like that. We were able to. They were able to afford like a Nintendo, and then later we got a Sega Genesis, and then much later, we got like a PS1, stuff like that. But we were never able to get like all the latest stuff, and we, usually we could only rent games, and we couldn't really afford to buy very many. But anyway, so I was familiar with computers a bit from school because they had us do, some math and typing and spelling, games and things in our computer classes and stuff where they weren't really computer classes, but as an addition to our regular classes, right? So I was familiar with computers a bit, but not that much. I thought they were really cool, but I didn't really know much about them. And I'd played NES games and maybe Sega at that time. But I was staying overnight at a friend's house. We were playing board games. It was like Risk or something. And around, I want to say 2 or 3 a.m., we were getting a little tired of the, sometimes Risk takes forever, right? Well, I guess it kind of always takes forever. And we were getting kind of tired, and I don't know if we finished it or we didn't, but we just, I was getting a bit tired, so I was thinking maybe I was ready to sleep or something, and then he was like, "Hey, you want to make a video game?" And like, it's like I misheard him. I was like, "What the?" Because he never told me about anything. Like, I didn't know you could make. I didn't know how you could make your own games. This was back when there wasn't as much information out there. Like, it wasn't unless you were going and seeking it out, and I didn't know the history of gaming. And had no idea that some of the earliest games were actually made by like students and stuff, like Rogue and these early, text-based RPGs and stuff. So I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Well, I can show you how to make like a game in BASIC. It's a simple programming language on my family's computer down in the basement." I was like, "That's that classic, right, in the basement." And I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" I was like, suddenly I wasn't tired at all. I was like, "What are you got to show me whatever the hell you're talking about, because that is insane. I don't know what you're talking about. That is crazy." I just wasn't familiar with programming and game making, So he was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let me show you." So we went down to the basement, and he brings up QBasic or Quick Basic, and he shows me, a little bit of code, just the most basic of basic, like the most simple commands that you could do. But just that stuff, and then how to roll random numbers, which is that's when gaming gets interesting. I mean, you can do games without random numbers, but people don't realize, even in games that don't have procedural generation, there's randomness everywhere because, usually, because if it's completely predetermined, it's not, maybe you want your weapons always to do the same damage, but in some games you don't, Anyway. So he showed me how to roll random numbers, and we start making this game together. Oh God, RustStorm. Okay, this is interesting. I gotta get back. I gotta get back to town to finish my story. This is good though. You get to see a RustStorm. Oh God. Oh, it killed me. Oh, usually they won't kill you. Oh. Okay, now it stopped because I died. Wow. Okay. I knew on higher difficulties it was possible they could kill you, but I didn't think it would happen on hard. But it definitely could happen sometimes. Okay, so that was good. Got some good playtesting. All right. Anyway, so. Yeah, I'll have to chill here and wait for the RustStorm. I'll just go shopping, I guess. Well, I tell the rest of this. So, we start writing this game together, and it was we stayed up all night. I remember we stayed up until the sun came up, making a very, very, very. It wasn't even a game, and I didn't even know of game jams. Like, I didn't even know that's what we were doing. But we didn't succeed, you could say. I mean, we finished something, but it wasn't really a game. All it really was, it was a text-based RPG, except all you could do was roll your random stats to create your character, and then you could do battle with one goblin. And I still remember he actually named the goblin after his brother. He was not that nice to his brother, actually, but and so like you could battle this goblin, and that was it. That was the only thing you could do. That was it. But, and I'm sure there were bugs. Probably game-breaking bugs in a game that wasn't even a full game. But it still blew my freaking mind, and it got me a little obsessed with programming. Oh, I'm getting disoriented where I'm at. Okay, yeah. Now, from then on, I didn't do programming all the time, and I didn't understand a lot of it. I couldn't do anything with complex math. Because I'm not good at that stuff, and with rendering and stuff, forget it. But basic text-based stuff, like in simple commands, like I actually had kind of a knack for it, and it was a lot of fun. So he taught me also after that Turbo Pascal, and I love it. To this day, that is still like probably my favorite programming language. Oh my god, oh, it was so good. And in fact, he taught me so much about Turbo Pascal that later in high school, when I took a computer class, they actually offered a Turbo Pascal or a programming class, and one of the things we covered, it might have been the only one I remember covering actually, was Turbo Pascal. And I remember actually, I knew most of the stuff, like I knew almost everything the teacher actually taught us, and then more stuff. Like I was like, but I took the class because I was like, oh, that'd be cool. But it turns out I had been obsessed with it enough before that I already knew a lot. One thing I'm not good with programming is loops, though. It's hard for me to build a mental model of what a loop is doing, and so I try to avoid those. So the more complex math and complex programming I don't like, and I avoid that even in this game as well. You know, I keep my scripts as simple as I can so that I can hold it in my head as to what's going on, you know, more easily. Anyway, from then on, I was really hooked on the idea of making games, but I still remember, even though I started making several prototypes and I kind of was getting the hang of it, I got to a point where I said to myself, I didn't think I had it in me to do all of it. And back then, I didn't even know. Actually, back then there were some options for game engines, but you had to, like, you know, you have to pay someone to license their engine. It wasn't as easy as it is now, where you can start out for free, like with the best engines in the world usually, and don't have to pay anything until later if your game makes money. Or in the case of this engine, it's just completely free. And I didn't even, you know, conceive of that kind of thing. So I was like, wow, I gotta make the whole game. Oh no! Like after I learned how to do collision, you know, in a 2D map, I was like so proud. I was like, oh my god, I can move this little, you know, sprite around. It's just like one character, no animation, you know, just like literally like a letter or a symbol. And I was like, I can make it, you know, it won't walk through the walls. So I got the, you know, the collision down, and you could walk around in like a simple room. And I made like 2 rooms, and then it was like, it fucking hit me. It like, oh god, this could take me years. Like it's gonna take so long. And so I stopped doing it for a while. Like I just worked on other creative types of things and other designing things and art. And when it came to creativity, it was always in the back of my mind, man, it'd be cool to make a game. But I just didn't think I could make a full game. So that's how I got started in game design and programming. And then from there, I just, you know, on and off, I would do like mod making. You know, I made some mods, released some. Other ones I didn't release. I was the guy who made Axebane's Hunter's mod for Oblivion. I made some dungeon generation mods for Minecraft. I don't remember if I mentioned this in the last devlog, but anyway, that's part of my background. I did a lot of modding, but not constantly. You know, I'd get into it for months, and then I would stop for a while, and get into it with a different game, and then stop for a while. And then something about this game engine when I tried it, and also a strong desire to really finish an actual game, and you know, and I realized, you know, if I don't have to do all the core engine features, I just get to do, you know, enemy design, weapon design, map design, and the core scripting features that I add to the game. I thought, oh, maybe I could do this, and I've made a lot of progress in a fairly short time. So I think actually I can. It's not going to be a game that's going to change the world, but I hope it'll be a game with a lot of replayability, a lot of ways to approach things, open-ended, that can surprise you and have like true exploration moments. Ooh, I got up there. That was a nice jump. Always got to try to get out of the map. I think I've prevented it, but if you have cybernetic legs, I think you'll probably be able to jump out. I'll have to think about that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching or listening to this devlog. I hope you got something out of it. I ramble a lot. I apologize. I try to keep it clear, but clear and concise. But yeah, this is the end of devlog number 2 for Project RustStorm. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care.